Ladies and gentlemen, there has been a lot of chatter over Dr. Martin Luther King's granddaughter and the speech that she gave recently on CNN at a DC rally. And all I have to say is a lot of things being said about Dr. Martin Luther King is very disingenuous. In life, he was not favored or liked. And unfortunately, we have a group of people that think that anytime they don't like what we are saying or they want to shut us up, they throw in the question, well, what would Dr. Martin Luther King think? Well, maybe if your people didn't kill him, we would know straight from his mouth what he thinks. But since he was assassinated by the same people that are raising him up and trying to glorify him to the Black community, which is a complete insult, is laughable in itself. I don't play, I personally don't pay attention to your what about Dr. Martin Luther King garbage because I see it as that straight up garbage and is not worthy of anybody paying attention to you, especially when we go back to the old footage of how whites treated Dr. Martin Luther King in life. So let's get to what his granddaughter did during her recent speech and the things that she said. Now, I'm not going to come down on a 9-year-old. She has a lot to learn in her life, and soon enough, she will know exactly how these folks treated her grandfather and grandmother when they were living. It always made me laugh how they talked about Dr. King being communist. That was a big thing they were on when I was growing up. Dr. Martin Luther King was communist. He cheated on his wife. Well, here's what I say about that white community. Number one, if Dr. Martin Luther King did cheat on his wife, I would think that would be between Dr. Martin Luther King and his wife, Coretta Scott King. It has absolutely nothing to do with the white community. Just like if one of your men that are always running around having affairs, if anything came out about that, it's none of my business. I'm not married to the bastard, so who cares? Number two, as far as Dr. King being a communist, you got to be kidding me bringing that up. If America was so concerned about communism, then why did you let all of these Chinese people, who are from communist China, by the way, come into America and set up a Chinatown in every single major city around the US? You ain't concerned about no communism, because if you were, you would never have let that happen. It just go to show you America is a whore. You got a big enough dollar, America will let you do anything you want to her. If Satan himself came to America and wanted to set up a demon town in every major city, America will let him do it as long as he got a big enough dollar. That's how America operates. So I have no concern about you raising Dr. King being a communist, and you got communists in every major city in this country called Chinatown. Moving on, I'm going to go ahead and play the speech of Dr. King's granddaughter.
Come bring her up. Renee King, granddaughter of Martin Luther King and Coretta Scott King. My grandfather had a dream that his 4 little children will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream that enough is enough. And that This should be a gun-free world, period. Will you please repeat these words after me? Spread the word! Have you heard? All across the nation. We are going to be a great generation. Now I'd like you to say it like you really, really mean it. Spread the word! Have you heard? All across the nation. We are going to be a great generation. Now I'd like you to say it like you really, really mean it, and the whole entire world can hear you. Spread the word! Have you heard? All across the nation. We are going to be a great generation. Now give yourselves a hand.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, you saw his daughter. She is actually the daughter of Martin III, who is Martin Luther King's eldest son. That's his daughter. So, my concern is I just hope this child does not get exploited. She is young and impressionable, and I hope her family takes the time to really teach her what happened during the time of her grandfather's life. So, I don't have anything bad to say about his granddaughter. She's very young and she's got a long way to go as far as her learning is concerned. But let's talk about the real life and times of Dr. Martin Luther King. This is an article that actually came out on his birthday, January 15th, 2018. And it really speaks the truth. I know we keep getting the Martin Luther King lip from some people, but let's see how they really treated this man when he was living. Most Americans didn't approve of Martin Luther King Jr. before his death, polls show. So let's take a look at these polls. In the years leading up to his assassination, the preacher and civil rights activist was less popular than ever. A 1966 Gallup poll found that almost 2/3 of Americans had an unfavorable opinion of Dr. King, and a third had a positive opinion, a 26-point unfavorable rate increase from 1963. King's popularity began to wane after he received the Nobel Peace Prize in 1964, Carson said. That King began to lose his momentum as he moved his attention from civil rights in the South to the North, to Chicago, to tackle segregation and poverty among Black Americans. Now, if you remember, when he marched in Chicago, he was met by white mobs that were counter-protesters during that time. And it was at Marquette Park. So during the Marquette Park March, King was met by white counter-protesters who threw rocks, bottles, and firecrackers. This was one white protester in the crowd, held up a sign that said, "King would look good with a knife in his back." This is how the white community felt about Dr. King when he was living. All this glorifying of him now is fake. It's fake. Okay, what they say is just complete fakery, and it's not the reality of how they were reacting to this man in life. They are spreading a lot of falsehoods about Dr. King. They use Dr. King as a means of trying to silence people that speak against the oppression, the injustice, and all of the racism that's going on in America. So as soon as you raise these issues, the first thing out of their mouth is Dr. King. So they try to use Dr. King and his image that they have faked up as a weapon against the Black community to try to shame us into silence. They do this everywhere. They do this online. They do this and verbalize it to you in person. And as far as what Dr. King thought, well, maybe if someone from the white community did not kill him, he could tell us himself what he thought. But since he was assassinated at the Lorraine Hotel in Memphis, we will never know what he thinks. Okay, so Dr. King was hit with a rock in the head while marching, which knocked him to the ground. I have seen many demonstrations in the South, and this is what King is saying, but I have never seen anything so hostile and so hateful as I've seen here today. And that's what he said in Chicago, ladies and gentlemen. You know, I had a cousin that lived his entire life in Georgia, and he was thinking about leaving Georgia and moving up north. And he was asking me about the racism up here. And I told him the truth. I said, you know, in the north, they are covert. They're equally as racist as the people in the south. They really are. They're just as equally as racist, but they're covert about it. See, these folks will look you in the face, smile, and go stab you in the back on a job, undermine you in school, telling lies on you to the teacher or principal to get you in trouble. And when you confront them about these things, they profess their innocence to you. And then when you later look into it, they were behind the whole thing. That's how they operate up north. They're covert, but equally as dirty as the ones that are in the South. So there is no pretty picture to paint about Dr. King when he was living. He really was roughed up by white cops. He was put in jail. He was hit. Um, People threatened his life constantly. And in fact, I got a speech at the end of my video that I want you to listen to. I know all of us have different favorite speeches of him, but this is one he gave towards the end of his life. He gave many speeches towards the end, and he wasn't talking that I have a dream stuff anymore, ladies and gentlemen. He was singing a whole different tune. He was really tired of how he was being treated and the racism of those times that still exists today. You know, racism, all they did was just put a different dress on racism, but it's the same ugly racism that existed for 5 centuries in America. So let's take a look at some of the actual footage of Dr. King when he was out in the streets and how white America treated him during those times. Let me go ahead and play this video for you. Hold on 1 second.
Until we are able to make this kind of witness in this city so that the power structure downtown will have to say, we can't stop this movement, and the only way to deal with it is to give these people what we owe them and what their God-given rights and their constitutional rights demand. Is that a free train coming?
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so you can see, them taking a knee is very reminiscent of what we see today, of the hostility towards the NFL players for taking a knee for the social injustice that goes on in America. And you can see they were equally as hostile even then. When Dr. King took a knee and to pray, he got snatched off the ground by white cops. Okay, so you can see the attitude is all the same. Racism is alive and well, ladies and gentlemen, even back then during Dr. King's time, and it still exists now more than ever now that Trump is in office. So I'm going to play another protest, and I just want you to watch in each one of these clips how our ancestors were treated back then. They want the I Have a Dream crowd to still be around, but see, these people are not around, and the few that are around, they're elders now. These are not young people. So now you're dealing with a whole different crowd with a whole different mindset. And it's not I Have a Dream anymore. Let me go ahead and play this next video for you, ladies and gentlemen.
They would leave Alabama having survived the bus burnings in Anniston and the beatings in Birmingham and Montgomery. A few days later, they would be arrested and put in jail in Jackson, Mississippi. Hearing of the bravery that preceded them, blacks in Albany, Georgia, in Jackson, in Selma, Alabama, began to boycott, march, and protest. Even their leader, Martin Luther King, was arrested. It was Good Friday in Birmingham. He responded to white clergy criticizing him for going too far, too fast.
When you have seen hate-filled policemen curse, kick, and even kill your black brothers and sisters, and your first name becomes nigger, your middle name becomes boy, however old you are. When you are hired by day and haunted by night by the fact that you are a Negro, living constantly at tiptoe stands, never quite knowing what to expect next, then you will understand why we find it difficult to wait.
All right. You can clearly see the treatment of black people was not good then, and it's not good today. In all honesty, we are the only ones that should be in fear of our lives when we step on the streets each and every day. I don't know what the hell your cops are fearing. I really seriously don't. They're not in danger. We are. All right, I'm going to show you another footage of Chicago, 1966, the Martin Luther King march through Gage Park, which was met by white counter-protesters. And I want you to listen to what he says out of his mouth. All right, let me go ahead and play this video.
Into all white suburbs. By moving north and by concerning itself with equality in housing and employment, the civil rights movement began to encounter increased resistance, the so-called white backlash. During these marches, King and other demonstrators were struck by bricks and bottles.
Oh, I've been hit so many times, I'm immune to it.
How do you feel about this reception?
Well, this is a terrible thing. I've been in many demonstrations all across the South, but I can say that I have never seen, even in Mississippi and Alabama, mobs as hostile and as hate-filled as I've seen in Chicago.
But the march will go on anyway?
Oh, very definitely. We can't stop the march. We've been going on in a few minutes.
You feel you're in a close society, Dr. King, here in the southwest side of Chicago?
Oh, yes. It's definitely a closed society, and we're going to make it an open society. And we feel that we have to do it this way in order to bring the evil out into the open, so that this community will be forced to deal with it. And so the backlash.
Okay. You heard a lot of white backlash. A lot of white counter-protesters were out every time he was marching. Not sometimes, every time. Okay? This last video is probably one of my favorite ones, when he was talking about being sick and tired of marching. Because, you know, even today we see unarmed black men being shot down with white cell phones, and it's the cop that's claiming to be in danger when there was no danger in the situation at all. And, you know, his words still ring true to this day in what he says. It's amazing how the police force, which is not even the most dangerous job, by the way, it's not even in the top 10 most dangerous jobs in America. It's amazing how they can take someone who actually has a weapon, like a Dylan Roof or a Nicholas Cruz, and arrest them without even a scratch on their bodies. So people that actually got a weapon can get arrested alive. But somebody that might have a gun is shot on the spot. This is why what your cops are saying is completely disingenuous. They know who got a gun and who don't. They're not telling the truth, ladies and gentlemen. They're lying about that. It is just an opportunity to get a black male at all cost. You know, killing a black man can net them a lot of money. We saw it in Darren Wilson and many other cases all through the years, where somebody will set up a GoFundMe or some type of crowd fund to give a reward to anyone that kills a black person. We saw it even with George Zimmerman, with his fat, mutt-looking ass. That's what we saw. This is what American society does. But at the same time, they're trying to preach morality to the world, but the world have seen your dirty deeds. This is why no one is reacting to you in the same manner that they did even a decade ago. The climate is changing, and it needs to change. I'm going to go ahead and play this last video because I really liked what Dr. King said in this speech. This is not the burning house that a lot of people talk about. This is his own words about being tired of marching for something that should be his birthright to have, and that's freedom. Let me go ahead and play this video.
I'm tired of marching. Tired of
There you go. That's the Dr. King I like. He was real. He spoke his mind. And that's all we want to do. Although there are people that are constantly trying to deny us of that. They silenced Dr. King because they knew the impact he was really having on the society during those times. And they try to silence us online because they see the impact of our words. You know, although they try to make it seem like nobody's going to pay attention to us or listen to anything that we say. But as you can see, it's contrary to everything they have told society about Black people. But please tell me what you think, ladies and gentlemen. You know, only we can change the climate ourselves. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell. And join me on Black Junction TV and blackspot.com. Peace, family.